So as you know by now, on this channel, I dive deep into wild and bizarre stories from around the globe. And today, I got a story for you that's not only wild, but it's a world's first. This story takes place in Wales, Australia. So a 64-year-old lady became really sick, and she was experiencing an array of unusual symptoms, from stomach pains to severe diarrhea and fever, and she would even wake up from night sweats. So she went to the hospital, and the doctors found out it was pneumonia, and they prescribed her some antibiotics and told her to drink more water and sent her home. And after she had taken the antibiotics, things didn't get better. The pills weren't working and things started getting worse. So she went back to the hospital and they started doing further testing on her, and they found out she had an abnormally high level of eosinophils, a type of white blood cell that fights parasitic infections. She also developed lesions in her lungs, her liver, and even her spleen. And her lungs almost looked like she had cancer. And the doctors couldn't figure out what was the cause and what was wrong with her. So they gave her steroids and they began chemotherapy, and she wasn't getting better, and she started having neurological symptoms as well. She started to forget things. Her personality started to change, and she started having severe depression. So this time, she went back to the hospital and they did an MRI brain scan on her and identified a lesion in her brain. So they set her up for a biopsy of the lesion in her brain to analyze the lesion for disease. And this surgery in 2022 was where doctors got the shock of their life. So she goes to the hospital for her surgery. She changes into the hospital gown. She lays on the hospital bed and they do her vitals. And then they bring her into the doctor's office where they put her to sleep. So the doctors start the surgery and they drill a hole in her skull to get to the lesion. And during the surgery, neurosurgeon Dr. Hari Priya Bandy looked through the hole and she saw something that frightened her. She sees something moving fiercely in her brain. So she grabs her forceps and grabs a hold of what looks to be the tail of a 3-inch worm, and this worm was digging in her brain. She pulls the worm out so she doesn't kill it, and she puts it in a dish so it can't escape. And she calls her colleague and she's like, "Oh my God, you won't believe what I just pulled out of this lady's brain. It's a live worm, and it's huge, and it's still moving, and it's still squirming on the table." So she has her team send off the worm to the laboratory to see what type of worm it is, and they give the woman medication to address the other larvae that could be living in her other organs, and they send her home. So they get results back, and the lab tells her that this is a roundworm. And this is a first in medical history where a worm has made a condo in a human's brain. Now you might be asking exactly how did this worm get all the way up to her head and do the Dougie in this lady's skull? The worm was like, "Smooth, can you teach me how to Dougie?" You know why? Because all the worms love me. So this worm identified as a third stage larva of a species commonly found in carpet pythons. So yes, worms and snakes, if you're not freaked out by now. So the adult worms live inside the carpet pythons, and they lay eggs, and the snake poops out the eggs, and then the other animals like possums and rats eat the eggs, and the larva gets into their flesh, and then the python eats the infected animals, and the cycle keeps going. So it's believed that she was out collecting native grass near a lake, and this lake was inhabited by carpet pythons, and the grass was called warrigal grass, and it's similar to spinach, and people cook them. And the grass was contaminated with parasite eggs from the python feces. So when she ate the greens, I guess it had python feces with eggs in it, and she ate them, and unknowingly she swallowed the parasite eggs, and then the larva migrated to her brain. So when this happened, this sent shockwaves throughout the medical community, highlighting the increasing dangers of diseases transitioning from animals to humans. So according to an infectious disease expert who says that as the human population grows and we move closer to animal habitats, we increase the risk of zoonotic diseases, which are infections transmitted from animals to humans. So to me, this is some wild shh. And just to let you know, the surgery went well and the woman is recovering well, and that she still is being regularly monitored because brain parasites can stay hidden, sometimes lingering for years. So the moral of this story is wash your greens. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more wild shh. And I'll see you in the next one.